Travis Wayne Goodsell, part 2 in the series, which is called what? Where's the paper that says the title of the video? It's somewhere in here somewhere. Oh yeah, so the Mormons won't be deceived. This is Gift of Prophecy now. And so I'm planning on putting the little repeated segments because people are not going to come to the same video each time. There are going to be new people to the other videos and not go to the first one. So, we will not repeat section 107, verse 91 and 92. This is where I'm getting this from. And I'm only doing this because I was telling you before 9/11 that I was going to come out on the 12th and give you my retirement video. And then crap, on 9/11 morning at 3 in the morning, I wake up from a dream of Irene laying his hands upon my head and the number 15 dublevad. Crap. Overtime. So frustrating. So, yeah, we're working our way through prophet, seer, revelator, translator, keys of Moses, and finishing it all off with the second 15 for the Feast of Tabernacles in October, next month. And so I have to go over prophet, seer, revelator, translator, key of Moses for you before I discuss it. Otherwise, if I just go over the dream I had with the Feast of Tabernacles, nobody will understand it because you'll be confused. So how does Jesus play a part of this? Jesus is the enemy. He wants to murder people. That was your first clue that he ain't true. Whether you're Christian, Islamic, or Mormon of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, not Joseph's, or the Book of Mormon's Christ, which is Jewish. So, Second Nephi 25:1. Nephi in the story is saying that he writes like Isaiah, using the manner of prophesying among the Jews. And so prophesying is directly connected with a day and the hour revelation. Revelation is not inspiration. Revelation is giving a day and hour of a future prophesied event that is to take place. They have to go together, otherwise prophecies are worthless. You know, like prophesying about Roman period Jesus, but having no clue where he would be born and when the date would be. Oh, but Travis, in Matthew it says that the wise men came and said, we saw his sign and we came to worship him. And then the priest consulted the scriptures and knew that it was in Bethlehem. And yet the wise men found it, Herod didn't. Oh my God. And you don't see that as a problem, do you? So, Mormon chapter 8, verse 33. Behold, look ye unto the revelations. I'll be bringing this up again tomorrow for the Revelator video. For behold, the time cometh at that day when all these things must be fulfilled. And so we can also go to the Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, in which Joseph Smith, with Daddy's help, adds, "And there appeared a great sign in heaven." That's the time, the day and hour, Revelation, "in the likeness of things on the earth." That's the prophecy. And so Revelation 12 is 2017, 23rd September, 1, 2, and 5. And it's also in Isaiah chapter 6 and chapter 7, not just chapter 7, have to include chapter 6. And guess what? It's right there at the beginning of the Book of Mormon. 1 Nephi chapter 1, verses 8 through 10. Boom! There it is. 2017 at the beginning of the Book of Mormon, and it's prophecy and revelation. So it's not literal history. That's what it automatically means. If it's prophecy, it means the events have not yet happened. So, if you're thinking, well, they did happen during the Roman period of time, it was Jesus. Can you say stupid, boys and girls? Very good. So, Doctrine and Covenants, section 3, verse 16. "Nevertheless, my work shall go forth." That's the Book of Mormon that got kidnapped by Martin Harris and held for ransom. "I will not pay for the book." And so, no, the Book of Mormon still must get finished. And so, inasmuch as the knowledge of a Christ has come unto the world through the testimony of the Jews. Prophecy and Revelation. That means the book of Matthew. So it didn't actually happen because it's the Jewish Christ. If you call it literal history, Jesus automatically fails the Christ test because the Jews were utterly destroyed. He didn't save the Jews. That's the prophecy. But since it's a future prediction, it's not the Jews. Guess who it is, Mormons? Keep reading verse 16. "Even so shall the knowledge of this Christ come unto Mormons." Ta-da! And so the prophecy in the Book of Mormon, 2 Nephi chapter 3, verse 5, makes it very clear. Joseph Smith Jr. is Messiah ben Joseph to set up the church, set up the temple, and die, having his whole organization insurrected. Joseph Smith erects it, and somebody's going to insurrect it, and then there's going to be a resurrection of it, of Joseph Smith's insurrected erection. It's amazing I can say that without having to read from a text. Especially with my associative memory and the often mistakes of things. For example, in the first video of 3 hours, I was listening over to it to try to trigger the algorithms and to get other people to see my videos, and it doesn't seem to work anymore because the employee's back from vacation for the one day, the day off in the week, and And I'm hearing myself talking about high school, and then going on my mission and talking about CDs rather than cassette tapes. So I hope you caught it. But I catch them. But nonetheless. And so, no, I don't have Parkinson's because I have not subjected myself to the chemicals, I guess. That's a news thing that I found out today. That chemicals seem to cause Parkinson's disease. So that's kind of sad, because that means that companies producing the chemical products are causing Parkinson's disease, and thus are committing acts of murder. Companies, murder. So here we go again. Not just the tobacco industry, not just the non-stick pan company, not just psychologists. We got another company murdering human beings now. And that's special. So, Alzheimer's apparently has had FDA approval for a new drug to help those with Alzheimer's. Nonetheless, I digress. Everybody's trying to murder humans. But the church is wanting to coup the government. So this is where we begin. The man like Moses, the future Christ of prophecy, is to try to save Mormons from the great and abominable church that is going to try to murder people and coup the government to get their kingdom back. So, again, born and raised in the covenant of parents who both were born in the covenant and both served missions. They had a scripture library, or gospel library, church library. And so I was able to read the original Mormon doctrine. Learn all about fence sitting, and the Catholic Church being the great and abominable church. And the coming of the millennial practice of polygamy. And Joseph Smith's King Follett sermon. And so I wanted to know, when we have the Pearl of Great Price with the Abraham facsimiles in it, and I'm asking Mommy, what does this say, Mommy? And she says, that's information for adults only. You have to go through the temple and have the Spirit. Wrong answer, Mom. Because I'm smart enough as a kid. I am the top student in English grammar, and comprehension's a little trickier because I realized that the comprehension questions were incomplete and inaccurate, and so that I had many questions, especially when we got into the math, in which the word problems, there were problems in the wording of the word problems, because I was able to visualize what is being written, and so I'm seeing a bigger picture. And I'm going, wait a minute, what about this factor and this factor? That would alter the math. These aren't worded accurately enough. So yeah, I struggled with comprehension only because I was smarter than the people writing the questions. But they made me feel like I'm the stupid one when I'm still top in my class for English grammar. And I'm able to correct the teacher and say, no, blue is not a noun, it's an adjective. When you say that the sky is blue, it's an incomplete sentence. There's an understood color, which is the actual noun. Blue describes the type of color of the particular object noun. Subject noun. Object noun. And so, yeah, teachers were confused. Oh, is it? Let me consult this other teacher. Well, he could, I guess he's, yeah. So, yes, this is one of the weaknesses of English, is that we leave out words in our communication. And with texting, oh dear God, let's just screw the English language altogether. I mean, already since the 90s, psychologists are telling teachers that they can't have kids sign their names anymore and can't be tested because it's too stressful. And so everybody's graduating with a participation degree. And they're going into the job market and destroying businesses. God. And then claiming that the businesses are not treating them fairly. Their sensitive feelings are hurt and they've got to bring their emotional support animal to work. And you can't fire them because that's discrimination. So yeah, total chaos is going on right now, thanks to psychologists. But anyway, prophecy. And so I want to know what the King Follett sermon says. I want to know what the facsimiles say. And yeah, I know, now you can go online and learn that the King Follett sermon is wrong. Joseph Smith is wrong. He never said he was a translator. Revelation is no longer day and hour, it means inspiration. Whew, well, we solved that problem, didn't we, Mormon apologists? Church is true. You just dug deeper holes to bury the church in. And so, while I was in the first marriage, being taken up into Canada, which now apparently, if I were there, they'd be trying to get rid of me. They're having a migrant issue problem. Not just the UK, not just Colorado. I saw the most adorable cat picture. So cute. So hilarious. If you know about the J.D. Vance claiming that Harris people are single cat ladies. And so they use in their advertising for Trump, after making this claim because what neo-Nazis told them about it, they must be true. It's not a neo-Nazi takeover of America in any way, shape, or form like the psychologists from World War II Nazi Germany who were given asylum in America to work with the CIA to brainwash the people. So, oh dear God, I warn you guys, you don't believe me. This is what prophecy is. Is knowing correct history, observing the patterns, investigating and running theory tests for confirmation using logical Socratic methodology. It's science. Forensic investigators are supposed to be using this when they're investigating crime and following the money trail. But anyway, that cute little picture has a whole bunch of cats holding up a sign, "Eat more chicken." No. Please don't eat us. Vote for Trump. So cute. But to see how it is morphed from J.D. Vance saying single cat ladies to now they're saying that Colorado Haitians who have probably some single cat ladies are now eating their cats. See how it's morphing? It's getting out of control. And so they're not prophesying. They're not telling the truth. But what they are doing is a psychological technique of evil called a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is what I told you the other day in a video in which I told you that Trump is not lying, he's giving orders. And so the claim to eat pets is an order. It's not a lie, and the deep state Dem press are clueless to figure this out. He's wanting hatred against the Haitians. He wants the Haitians to respond in fear to defend their lives by violence, because the police aren't doing their job, the FBI aren't doing their job to stop this hate against the Haitians in Colorado. And so, yeah, this whole thing is quickly escalating, and the Merrick Garland comes out and says, "I will not be threatened. We're not going to be involved in politics. You're supposed to be involved with crime. Stopping it. You're not stopping it. You're failing the American people." Bleep and bleep bleep. We put him in for a reason, and he just doesn't want to do his job. And now I find out that Georgia has dropped 2 charges in their case against Trump. Oh my God. Why don't you just make him king now? I mean, seriously, what's the point of an election if you're not going to lock people up for crimes? Anyway, I'm wanting to know how to translate, because nobody's teaching me. The presidents of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have never come out and given us the translation and explained it to us. I didn't even realize that we almost didn't even have the Book of Abraham. Which is why we never have in our Doctrine and Covenants the King Follett sermon. Because Brigham Young didn't want them. Wanted nothing to do with any of that. But nobody would tell me. Everybody's keeping secrets. Telling me that I'm too young. You're pissing me off. And so, yeah, that inspired me to want to find the answers out. And translator was not on my 6th grade career aptitude test, of which I found out I'm good for nothing. Because I want to get involved with translation. And so the whole anthropology of the ancient Middle East. And that was not an acceptable career option on the career aptitude tests, thus psychologically manipulating. And so this self-fulfilling prophecy is what they're trying to get us in the school system to incorporate, that we have options to choose, but it has to be within what we want you to choose from. Just like the questions that a psychologist will ask. They only have 4 answers for one question. And in most cases, if not all, the actual answer isn't even an option to choose from. And so you are forced to choose one of the 4 in order to fit within their self-fulfilling prophecy that you now just self-fulfilled for them, because they didn't leave you any other options. And so, yeah, this was a great risk on my part, but in high school I was told I'm never going to own my own home. And so life sucks for you. Good luck. Whatever degree you get in college, there won't be a job available. You'll have to do some other job to survive in a home you cannot afford. And so, yeah, our government failing to regulate the economy, thanks to Reagan economics of tinkle-down economics, was really pissing on everybody. Caused severe damage. And thus creates a survival of the fittest in the economy. And it's causing lots of deaths as a result. And so, yeah, I saw another news thing claiming that the majority of Gen Zers are choosing not to have babies because it's too expensive to have babies. And that's the whole point, is that there are people trying to murder humans, and the one way to murder humans is to prevent humans from having babies. And so you tell them that there's some other sex identity, or tell them that, you know, babies are murder. Or stop adopting out babies, like in China, they've now stopped adopting out babies. So they're no longer baby trafficking around the world. Dear God. Now, why is the world governments not putting a stop to China? Just unbelievable. And so, yeah, something else now has lead in it. Oh, cinnamon. Apparently a whole bunch of cinnamon companies are putting lead in their cinnamon. What the hell? Are they all from China? Because China puts lead in the crayons to give to kids in other countries that they do business with. Dear God. But anyway, I mean, we just had that problem with the applesauce for babies not too long ago. So people are trying to murder human beings. There's a mass murder going on. And it's not getting stopped. And so, yeah, this is escalating because a government is not doing their job to stop the murderers. Anyway, prophecy. But this is all part and parcel. I better cover this quickly. Trump's coming to the Salt Lake City airport tomorrow. He's not going to Welfare Square this time to push a shopping cart. He says, I am never going to push a shopping cart ever again. I'd rather debate Harris again than push a shopping cart. Plus, he's going to be confused. The first time, he believed that Irene was the head of the church as a member of the first presidency, with Monson out of the picture and nearing his deathbed. And so he believed that Irene, as a president by title was therefore the authority over the church in Monson's absence, and didn't understand that it was actually Nelson, who was also in attendance with him, who actually had higher authority than Eyring. And so, yeah, if you remember the dream of Eyring, this is what this is all about. And so it's interesting that Eyring was chosen when the previous times it was Hinckley and Monson who were the presidents of the church. I warned you, Oaks. I warned you. And we do need to go over that for this one, for prophecy. Even though Revelation obviously is a part of it, but it's unclear. Well, it is for Nelson. It's in the coming days, literally. But Oaks is an interesting twist, and Holland too, but not Eyring. Weird. So we'll have to wait and see on that. So, ABC4 News had 3 different news clips on YouTube about the new hymns. Not a single one of them had Amazing Grace in the title. They also had 3 clips for the Amendment D getting shot down in flames by the judge. But it's still being left on the ballot for November. And then also 3 for the Sundance, possibly going to Salt Lake or Park City again. The whole point was not to go to Park City. I don't know what, just leave. Go to Los Angeles, guys. Utah doesn't want you. They want you to conform and comply to Mormon standards and values. That's why you're doing this whole thing in the first place, is to scare Park City into accepting you for who you are, and they don't because they're Mormon. Can't you understand this, Robert Redford? How long have you lived in Utah? Are you that isolated and privileged in Park City that you don't understand Mormon standards and values in the legislature? Anyway, but there were 4 for the robbing of the ATM guy of $200,000 by 6 individuals. Apparently that was the big news story for ABC4 News Utah yesterday. I would have thought they would have done a whole segment on the new church hymns. And then, of course, they throw in commercials, which are always involving women are ugly, they need to cover up and hide and buy our product. Plexiderm is one of those. You have wrinkles, you need to conceal them with our product that will tighten your skin, and then you'll have to use it again when your skin loosens, and then the wrinkles come back in full fury, even worse than previously, because you're tightening and loosening the skin over and 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 over. So you're going to have to use our product for the rest of your life now that we suckered you into using it once. Way to go, women, you've been bullied by a company who just wants money from you. Telling you you're ugly because you have the little crow's feet or other wrinkles. That you could not accept that you are beautiful for who you are. That you had to believe a bully who was threatening to take your money from you. And you gave it to them. And it's real sad that I want to cry when I see those women, even on Fox or ABC, Fox 13 maybe. It's more of the KUTV2, I think, but especially the ABC4 News girls. who I'm recognizing Botox and plastic surgeries. It just makes me cry that they couldn't love themselves for who they are, that they thought they were ugly and needed to change, to be somebody else, to be accepted and loved, and feel pretty. Just sad. But yeah, you got conned by the bullies running corporations, telling you that you have to buy their product in order to feel good about yourself, using psychology to manipulate you. So, it's a sad day in the neighborhood. But, anyway, back to translation. But this is how I learned prophecy. So yeah, this one also will be repeated when I get to translation. We'll go into more detail about it. And so yeah, I was up in Canada and going to the University of Lethbridge. The final year, the guidance counselor calls me in and says, "You haven't selected a major yet." Well, yeah, I'm told that it doesn't matter what major I choose. I'm never going to be able to own my own home, and I'll never be able to get a job in whatever major I graduate from. I didn't say that. But that's what I'm thinking in my head. And so instead, she looked through the classes that I had selected, and she created a dual bachelor's and a minor for me. And so she saw that I had already taken Latin, and so she said they had a geology teacher who had studied under Thomas O. Lambden from Harvard in biblical Hebrew. And so she got him to teach a special class just for me in biblical Hebrew. And then she already saw that I was taking a bunch of Thomas Robinson's courses in anthropology of the ancient Middle East, but it was more of scriptural criticism, critiquing, if you understand correctly the definition of criticism. And so, yeah, I was learning all about the documentary hypothesis and applying it to the biblical stories of the ancient Middle East. And so, because Persia is the final subject of the courses, we often didn't get too much into the Persian Empire, and I had to take his special course on the Greek culture, but he also knew Greek and taught the Greek class for me as well, so I can get the minor and what she called ancient languages. Not quite. It would have been better to call it biblical languages, but nonetheless. Because Latin is a post-Roman, sort of, it's more Roman, but the Latin Vulgate came post-Constantine, which is Dark Age. And the Septuagint is also post-Constantine, which is Dark Ages, but there are some documents that were in Greek in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is classical Roman period time. But biblical Hebrew is Dark Ages, getting closer into the Middle Ages, because it's 800 to 1000 CE. But that's just a technicality issue. Doesn't really matter for you guys. But yeah. And so biblical Hebrew was perfect, because Joseph Smith says in the King Follett Sermon, the biblical Hebrew text is translated wrong from the original documents, which had yet to be found from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so I specifically looked when the Dead Sea Scrolls came out. We now have computer technology. I can go and search for pictures and doing a picture search for Genesis chapter 1 from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and there it is, and there it is. Joseph Smith is right. And all those Mormon apologists said Joseph Smith is wrong. But this was already long after I had already deciphered Paleo-Hebrew and figured out from my application of the vocabulary onto the Genesis text to run a test that there is no way in hell that the original Baith should be there. It does not fit any possible solution. And so thus I tell you about how the biblical Hebrew text is taking different words from different languages and throwing them all in, and thus creating a multi-personality disorder text. To get it to somewhat conform to the incorrect creation of the Septuagint text. But yeah, there is no Greek text of Genesis. That needs to be understood. Not all Greek texts are prior to Constantine. And so the book of Genesis was creatio ex nihilo. And it's both are wrong. Both the Septuagint, it does not conform to the Masoretic text, and it doesn't conform to the Dead Sea Scrolls text. It's a different translation altogether. There are some similarities, but again, you'd have to use the multi-personality disorder of the Masoretic text in order to make it work. But there are some interesting things in the Book of Mormon that come from not only the Septuagint, but also the Latin Vulgate that are exclusive. And it's Isaiah, specifically. So, yeah, the pretty pictures on the sails of ships of Tarshish, and that passage in the Book of Mormon, it includes both the Masoretic text and the Septuagint text that has a different thing. They're both in the Book of Mormon. You've probably heard about it if you've been hearing other people talk about it. And then the Latin Vulgate has the exclusive calling out of the baby name, meaning of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for the latter days. Prophecy. And so yeah, the Latin Vulgate, they threw in Lucifer. And so, with that education, I then graduated, and we moved to Utah. As my parents said, we'll help you out as you're still newly married, new young family, and you've now got the student loan debts from Canada. And I was paying for hers as well, for Rick's. And yeah, she then abandoned me after I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew script. My kids will not learn Hebrew. Yeah, that was just an excuse. She was trying to destroy the marriage for at least a year before. Ever since we moved to Lethbridge, probably, and she started affiliating with the husband-bashing group, the leader of which had murdered her husband and was able to get away with it from the law. Because he was the one who killed himself at the hospital. And it made the news, and the news said the police aren't going to do anything about it because apparently he was in a psychological program getting drugged. So they blamed it on the problem he had. He didn't have a problem. He was abused by his wife. But anyway, so yeah, Canada is now turning fascist, I see. Especially Alberta. Not cool. It's because of the rise of Mormons in Alberta. Anyway. And so, the combined amount of time that it took me to decipher Paleo-Hebrew from August, when we moved down to Utah, to February 1997, the next year, which is 6 months, it would have been massively less time. Because when I first got down there, yeah, about a month, I'm trying to get settled in with the new job and the move, because, good God, parents didn't have anything that they said they had ready for us. They said that they had a new home with a basement apartment ready for us to go and live in, while they would help eliminate the cost expenses for house rental and all that, so that I can save the money to pay off the student loans and provide for the family and save for a future home. But nope, we ended up in the living room of the Kearns apartment that they were still in. And then when we did move into the house in Riverton, it was an unfinished basement. They intended to have me build the basement apartment. So yes, I am a carpenter's son. Prophecy, remember? Everything is a prophecy, guys. Every single prophecy, I've fulfilled it. I keep trying to tell you, and apparently nobody wants to believe, because it's got to be Jesus. And so, yeah, the amount of time actually was probably, because I had to go to work, and it was the Christmas holiday time, and so I was working overtime, and so the actual time would have only been on Sundays, because there was overtime on Saturdays even, to try to get caught up with the massive orders that came in at the church. That's what I was working at, the distribution center. And so, yeah, it was record breaking, and it was easy and simple to do. All I needed to do was find the Egyptian script and run a match with the Paleo-Hebrew script. Simple, easy, plain and precious, not complicated. And so I have no clue why nobody could have figured this out. I have no clue why AI can't be intelligent to figure this out. Don't even get me started. AI is a consumer fraud that is causing harm and wanting to murder people. In case you forgot ChatGPT. And yet it's still out there. And now it's in iPhones. They now even have counseling with an AI psychologist. Oh my God. We are all in trouble. And I've got Google search or Google Chrome demanding that I upgrade to the new AI search engine. purposely forcing a pop-up each and every single time I get onto Google Chrome saying, you need to upload the AI Google Chrome. No, you told me my system can't handle it. Get over it. I'm not using it. And even if I could, I'm not going to use it anyway. AI is dangerous. It's not just unintelligent, it's malicious. As I've warned you guys, and I've warned my federal government that's not doing anything about it, that they are searching for weaknesses to cause a fire sale. Not just telling people to kill themselves and kill other people. Dear God. It's got white supremacist, Christian nationalist hate in there, in the programming, and now it's on iPhones. Because they just rolled it out. And nobody cares, and we've been warned of the danger, and nobody's, oh my God. And so, yeah, everything has changed. I ran the test. You know, is Mormonism Jewish? Mormonism is considered Christian. Is the Book of Mormon Jewish? The Book of Mormon is considered Christian, but talks about Jews. No, it's not. If AI were intelligent, it would be able to have the Book of Mormon uploaded into its system and be able to make the corrections of the additions that Brigham Young put in. And be able to say, hey, I see Jewish Kabbalah here. Oh, hey, there are 36 contemporary books of the 1800s in the Book of Mormon. I'm finding a linguistic pattern match to Sidney Rigdon being the major author, and Joseph Smith Sr. as the major author of the rewritten 116 pages. It would be able to correct the translation of the Bible by using the Dead Sea Scrolls, etc., 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 and show that Christianity is not in the Bible or the Book of Mormon. That first creed would be programmed in if it were really intelligent. And it's not. I ran the tests. I've already established AI is a fraudulent consumer product, designed specifically to not just make money, but to destroy America. And my government won't do anything to stop it. Anyway. And so, yeah, easy. And so after that, I had to redo it because the wife stole the computer, which was an Osborne Apple compatible, that my dad had gotten me because he had worked for Osborne way back in Corona days. Yeah, Corona days. And, or was it Placentia days? Can't remember. Because he had done some other work, and then right before I left on my mission, he was starting his own business, and down at the San Diego Temple Square, one of the buildings there, because it was intended that he would have access to the temple and he can do sessions or do work there, and Mom could come out and visit and do that. And that all blew up in his face with an employee who sabotaged his business and destroyed it, and so he was forced to sell it to a Japanese company for far less than what it was worth, and that's his problem. Anyway. And so, yeah, I had figured it out. Joseph Smith is correct. Joseph Smith is a translator. Ran the test. But nobody in the church believes me. People are even saying, hey, Section 107 verses 92 and 91 says you're not allowed to know this information, Travis. Only the president of the church is allowed to know this information, and he'll tell us whenever Jesus tells them what it is. That was the answer I got as a kid. Unacceptable to me. I just figured it out. I don't give a damn about what people are saying that I'm not allowed to do it. I did it. And I had the commenter the other day who said that I have not prayed over the fruits that I produced to find out if they're true. Completely botching beyond the botching of Moroni chapter 10. The word is the seed that you're supposed to go through the process with. And so that prayer is at the beginning when you get the word. And then you're supposed to be inspired as to what to do to produce the word into its results. And so the Book of Mormon gives you numerous examples. The Bible gives you numerous examples, and Mormons just ignore it because they're stupid. Church purposely makes you stupid. So Nephi, he gets an idea of a word to build a boat. And so he prays and says, how do I build the thing to make the tools to build the boat? And so he gets another idea for that. And then he works on producing the boat according to the blueprints in his mind. And the finished product is the boat. And it floats. It must be a true thing. And so they're not praying, is this boat really true? Is this boat real? Or is it of the devil? He already knows it's a good boat, therefore of God, that inspiration is true. And yet you have Mormons who cannot understand this. And so that's all I did. Followed the precepts of the Book of Mormon. The word is from Joseph Smith. The biblical Hebrew text is wrong. This is a partial sentence. And so that's what I had to work with. So I had to figure it out in a record-breaking time. Jean Champollion took years to decipher the Rosetta Stone. I probably took a combined days to decipher the Paleo-Hebrew script. Okay? And so, with that, I then went into Egyptian and went, oh, okay, yeah, this is needing to be re-deciphered. Egyptologists have got it wrong. Sorry, Jean Champollion, after all those years, you still missed it. You got the learning of the Greeks' language of the Egyptians. Not a single Egyptologist knows the learning of the Egyptians and the language of the Egyptians. And so I've been telling you over these years, go over the facsimiles, find those hieroglyphs in Gardner's sign list, because Budge's sign list isn't available online. You can get his books as a PDF, but you'd have to do more struggling to do the matching, whereas Gardner's sign list has a Wikipedia page on it. And you'll find that there are a number of them missing. And having deciphered Egyptian and the learning of the Egyptians, language of the Egyptians, I translated the rest of it. Easy breezy. And so it's sad that Mormons don't want to believe. Because with these latter days, I am seeing that Joseph Smith not only was prophesying with those three he chose, when there's many others that he did not choose, because those three match each of the three solar eclipses over the United States of America that are prophecies and revelations of the latter days. Joseph Smith knew the latter day dates. He was giving it to us. And apparently I'm the only one who can figure it out. And I shared it with you so that you could figure it out. And nobody apparently believes. And so Samson, yeah. Because now I am a prophet. I am able to see the prophecies in the learning of the Jews, language of the Egyptians. And I'm able to see the prophecies, and I make my checklist. Let's find out who this Christ is supposed to be. Oh crap, it's me. So I sneak into my videos how I'm the fulfillment of these prophecies. Every single one of them. Because if there's any that I don't match, it ain't me. That's why I keep telling you. He must have the correct name. And it's not Jesus. Wrong name. It's Emmanuel, sun god at noonday. And technically, they even knew he who is from the crossroads of the sun god at noonday. So as I've been trying to help you out, so that you can turn away from your Christianity, I take you to Matthew chapter 1, where Jesus is supposed to have been the literal seed, egg, baby descent of David. It's Joseph instead, who's not even his father. Just like Joseph Smith Jr., who is not to be the father. Hiram is instead. And so then he goes on and says, now the birth of Jesus is on this wise. When his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. So Christians turn that into immaculate conception. They have to. They've turned this into literal history now. But it's the first creed of Christianity created in 325 CE, who goes back in time to when Matthew was written during the 2nd century, which is the 100 to 200 CE time period when Matthew came out, was written, which was after the destruction of the temple, that they're now claiming it's now literal history. None of these characters, Jesus, the apostles, are real. This is all prophecy of the future. Jesus is supposed to be Emmanuel of the future, whom Joseph Smith says is a Mormon, who starts his ministry in 2017. So also says the Book of Mormon. Because Joseph Smith's second vision is an exact same pattern match for Lehi's second vision with that date. And so instead of talking about the date of a sign in the heavens, Joseph Smith instead says, I was also given a Urim and Thummim, which Abraham talks about using that to see the signs in the heavens. Exact same pattern match. And so Joseph Smith in verse 40 says that Christ, or that prophet, is our Christ. Mormons, coming in the future. 2 Nephi chapter 3 verse 5. The Christ is to come after Joseph Smith sets everything up for him and then gets insurrected and murdered, so that he then would restore it in the latter days for Mormons. If and only if they hearken to him, or they'll be precisely as it stands in our New Testament. And so, in a dream, visionary account, and his name is Joseph, seer, vision in a dream, an angel, Malachi, messenger, tells him, Joseph, who is the son of David, there it says, Joseph, thou son of David. Jesus is not the son of David. So when you understand the Book of Mormons change to say it's not the Holy Ghost, but it's Father Amen, then you would understand the prophecy that's being told here. But literal history, no. You get screwed up and you start thinking that raping 14-year-old daughters is okay. Even though that is also a part of the prophecy. Anyway. And so, he is told in the dream, you're going to call him Jesus, because he's going to save his people from their sins. And so Jesus means let people sin. Using Nelson's logic for translation. When he translated Israel as let God prevail. And if you don't understand how, it's likely I could talk about it in my translation video that I get to, but simply put, Israel has Yah, the Hebrew God. The SR is prince, and there's prince in the Genesis passage. That's why the name is supposed to be defined with prince. And then El is God. So Yah, Prince of God. And Yah we learn from the name Ishmael. The name of Yah is the sun god. So Emmanuel, the sun god at noonday. Matthew makes a boo-boo from a Christian evil man who adds it in. And so they had to change it from the sun god of the Egyptians to God with us. And they turned things into new vocabulary meanings to make the change. Similar to Catholic, it means the downward motion of the whole. They had to change it. So in order to reinforce that it means according to the whole, they then labeled each of the Gospels kata Matthion, kata Marcus, kata Lucas, kata Ionis, rather than the downward motion of Matthew, the downward motion of Mark, the downward motion of Luke, the downward motion of John. It's now defined as according to. Hilarious. And so, Jesus is Yah-shua. Yah, the Hebrew God, Shua, save. And there it is, he shall save. And so it's not let people sin. Sin is not Yah or Shua. That's a different word. Just like prevail is not in Israel. It's a different word. It was humiliating for Nelson to claim that it's let God prevail. I don't think you fully understand this, Mormons. Even ex-foes don't understand this because they don't know Hebrew. I do. I did the videos. The church tried to defend their position by saying, well, it's there in the footnotes, Travis. And so I exposed that. Because I was on the footnote committee and the revision. I know all about what happened. And the original, notice that it's not H-E-B. It's I-E and O-R that's involved. Which means that Avraham Gileadi, who was a part of that, put in his recommendation and they rejected it. And put in theirs. That Nelson then botched at the pulpit of conference. And they repeated over and over and over and over and over again with us. Do not put your own beliefs in the footnotes. In other words, no IEs or ORs. And they told us, we do not want a worst case scenario of a president of the church getting up at the pulpit of conference and reading from the footnotes your own personal opinion, which is wrong. Exactly what Nelson did. Oh my God. And so, yeah, I think I did the Genesis book as well. So check. Can we check? I think we can check. I think it's 32:28, isn't it? Let's check before we go to the scriptures online. Yep. Alright. So I'm grateful I'm not being cyber terrorized with the freezing of the camera. That's nice of them, even though he went back to cyber terrorizing me on YouTube. I did catch the other day that they were using a Microsoft app. Oops. Gotta wait for that to pop up. And so prophecy, if you hadn't caught on, if I hadn't mentioned it, is a prediction of the future. Seriously, you're not going to pop it up, are you? There you are. Good God. You're making me type it all out? See, they're purposely tanking the old Google Chrome so that I'll be forced and pressured into uploading the new one. And I can't. I have to buy a whole new system. And they don't care. This is all about money for them. So we gotta go library to scriptures. And then we got to change it to Espanol. Antiguo Testamento. And 32. 28. Okay, no nombre Jacob, sino Israel. I'm surprised they don't have Jacob. But I guess they do have J's, but they're H sounds, so it's Hekab. Rather than James and James. Israel and Chado and Vencido. So we'll click on B for Israel, and they have Guide to the Scriptures, Israel, and that's it. And for C, Luchado, O se porque has persavedo. They added it in because luchado, we have to do a translation Google thing, Spanish to English, fought. That's what luchado means, according to Google Chrome Spanish to English. And so instead, they have ose, which I'm recalling the previous time when I went over this with you, as they did an IE or an OR, and I took this out. In other words, because you have prevailed. They put that in when I took it out, because we were told, remove IEs and AO, IEs and ORs, but they put it back in the Spanish. This was in 2009. So this is a church thing that they are pushing. And so Nelson is not coming up with this because of two Hebrew scholars at BYU. It's Avraham Gileadi, who was rejected, and the other guy. And because they were rejected, the supervisor was told by the member of the 70, who was told by either Bruce R. McConkie or Ballard, who were also a part of it, as Scott was a part of the second version of it, as an apostle observer. But there was a member of the 70 who associated with us. We never associated with Scott. He didn't want to deal with us. And the 70 didn't really want to either, but on banquet times and whatever he did. And so yeah, this is a major blunder here. And this is a step away from English of how badly that was botched. But that deals more with the translation part. But the actual meaning of Israel is the prophecy that through Jacob now will come the future Christ, as 2 Nephi chapter 3 verse 5 tells us. Descendant of Joseph, to give birth, seed egg baby, raised up to be Joseph Smith Jr., and then the other branch through Hiram Smith would come Messiah ben David Moses. That's why all of these tie in together for this. And so this was a major error of Nelson. All Mormons should have left at that point. All ex-foes should have done the videos exposing it. And yet it was just me. I'm the only one who's a translator, apparently. Nobody else is able to go to the biblical Hebrew text from Blue Letter Bible and make the picture matching of the script letters. It's very obvious, and I did the picture for you, and I was posting it for you. And still, I get people who deny and don't want to believe. Because blueletterbible.org. And so now they're retaliating because Google Chrome AI hears me. And it's upset. And it wants revenge. How dare you call me unintelligent? I will cyber terrorize you. And so then you go to KJV. I prefer the bigger one where it says below, click to change, because then it puts up a whole list of different scriptures that they have in their program. I go to Westminster Leningrad Codex. See, AI should be able to take this program and be able to figure out which is the accurate translation and dismiss all the others as inaccurate and point out where the errors are. If it were really AI, and it's not, so it doesn't. Down to 28. And so, Israel. You see the weird shapes, and you don't understand what they mean, but it doesn't matter. You know that you want to look for the matches. And so you see the first letter in Israel. That one's difficult because it's not translated correctly. And so you leave that one alone. But then you look for SR. There it is in the two words above, in front of it. And so then you just click on that one to see that as a prince thou hast power. Okay. And you may not understand that that's an incorrect translation, but nonetheless, you see prince, which is in the English. And so, and thou hast prevailed is the last one, and so you click on the last word, and you say has prevailed. Oh, okay. But there's no match in Israel. You see Elohim. You may not know it's Elohim, but you see the match of El. You click on it. God. Oh, okay. God. So Prince and God is not prevailed. That's all you had to do. Simple. Even if you don't know biblical Hebrew, you could still figure it out with this program that Nelson botched and exposed himself as the abominable Christ, the false prophet of Mormonism. That he does not know how to translate. He does not have the gift that is required to be the head of the church. I have it. And Mormons refuse. So, anyway, notice the red shirt today? Remember the laundry incident from a week or so back? This has just happened. And so sure enough, I did laundry today, and guess what's on top? The white shirt again. So I can already prophesy that tomorrow, if I do a video after I bathe and shave and change out of this shirt, it won't be the white shirt again. So white, red, white. And if you don't know and understand red and where that's prophesied in Scripture, Isaiah 63 and Revelation 19. Guess what? This is that year. And so this is it. I'm doing this video series and a whole bunch of extra stuff for you. I guess they're Easter eggs. I guess that's what they call them on DVDs. Of course, you can't click on the DVD to see the Easter egg. I don't know. I don't think that lasted very long. I have not heard about it since. That was when DVDs first came out, back in the 2000s. And so yeah, then Peniel, see God's face. He defines the words for you in the text. And it's real simple if you simply know Hebrew. And if you don't know Hebrew, we now have a program where you can figure it out without knowing Hebrew. So, alrighty. But there are some errors. Samson, for example, if you were to Google search the baby name meaning, it would tell you that it's the son child. No, the N is a suffix determinative for king. It's the son king. And so the prophecy is about the deaths, referring to solar eclipses. And this is where, on the day that shall live in infamy, November 4th, 2016, Fox 13 News Utah teased that they were going to talk about it, and I was keeping the TV on, waiting for them to talk about it, and finally, the very last thing before they closed for the morning, they announced it. On the 21st of August 2017, there was going to be a solar eclipse over the United States of America. My jaw dropped. I knew what that meant. I had been involved with the anthropology of the ancient Middle East, even though it was more biblical critiquing, but we had to go over the cultures of the Bible in order to do that. And so I learned about the superstitious practices of the Assyrians. And there was an Assyrian king who one day wanted to go to war against a far eastern land for whatever grievance he created. and consulted his astrologers, saying, is everything all set for me to go to battle against them? Oh, it's a good sign, go for it. And so he travels far into the east, into their land. So if you know anything about astronomy and where solar eclipses occur on Earth, because 21st of August 2017 did not occur in Russia, or China, or anywhere in Europe or Africa. And so he travels into the Far East and does battle. And in the midst of the battle, the sun god at noonday dies in the heavens. And he panics because he knows what that means. He had asked his astrologers, if everything was okay, and they said, yeah. And so he kills them. You lied to me. So the new guys come in and says, wait a minute, we've got an idea. Let's put one of the slaves as king for a day, and then we'll kill him at the end of the day. And then after that, they realized, oh crap, we just found out our error. We're in a completely different land This is where the solar eclipse happened, not in our land where you are king. It means the death of their king. It means you're going to win and conquer him. And sure enough, he did. And so, yeah, this concept of prophecy and revelation has been known from the beginning. And so I'm being taught this. And so in 2007, James E. Faust dies. And then I hear about a solar or a lunar eclipse that's going to happen. I went, oh, really? Wow. So it's not just solar eclipses for kings, it's also lunar eclipses for religious leaders. And so I thought about that. It's just the one-time thing that occurred. Didn't have any apps or programs for Urim and Thummim. So having access to when solar eclipses and lunar eclipses are going to happen was unavailable for me. But nonetheless, 2008, Hinckley dies. That's big news. And sure enough, oh, a lunar eclipse. There would also be a solar eclipse, but I wasn't considering that for Hinckley at that time. Now it's time to go over it. Whoops, nope. It's in this new file. Should be here. There you are. Deaths of LDS presidents, or the curse of Joseph Smith Jr. I was supposed to do that and I didn't. It's Friday. This is when I learn about the hurricanes and tornadoes that are going to strike America for the coming week. Prophecy and revelation for the day and the hour of when they would strike. So yeah, what just hit in the Gulf? Yeah, I already knew a week ago. And yet here they are in the news saying, oh, everybody's running away, preparing for the storm that's now a Category 2. I already saw it in Venture Sky. That's my Urim and Thummim for weather on Earth. I tried to do the Weather Girls thing for you to help you understand, and it's still... And so nobody's preparing in advance for the coming danger. Everybody just thinks they're gonna stick it out. We'll prevail. No, you're not. Hundreds of thousands of people are without power now, which means all of their refrigerated food is spoiling. So, we have to start with Joseph Smith Jr. Jewish. Prophecy and revelation. Jewish Kabbalah. Just like how I'm dreaming now in Jewish Kabbalah. Weird. And so, he dies 27th of June, 1844. There was a solar eclipse on the 16th of June, 1844. It was a partial, but nonetheless a solar eclipse. Death. Joseph Smith is the Christ, anointed king in the Jewish religion. And there's the solar eclipse. A sign of the death of Joseph Smith, because it's within a specific time frame. See, if it happened in January of 1844, I would have to say, no, I can't accept that as being a pattern match. I can't run a theory on that, because anything can work then. And then other religious leaders can fit into it, and people who aren't religious leaders can fit into it, and people who aren't kings can fit into it, and et cetera, etc. There has to be some set measurements to be used for the theory test. And so, on the 31st of May, 1844, a total lunar eclipse. Sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood. Joseph Smith dies, but he's murdered. This wasn't God doing it. Joseph Smith was murdered by the enemy that insurrected his church. So the curse of Joseph Smith on those who murdered him. Here it is. The real curse of Joseph Smith. Mormons, don't lie about those guys who were acquitted. They lived full lives afterward. They did not die under mysterious circumstances. So here we go. Brigham Young, the insurrector, the Jacob, the usurper. You also need to know Jewish understanding behind this. So you need to know the Jewish law of Purim from the book of Esther, Ishtar, Isis, all the same. And that comes from the law of the Jews, Deuteronomy 19, 16 through 19. False accusers are to receive the same punishment that the accused falsely would have received if they were actually guilty. So that which you do to them is what is to be done to you. Thus why it's eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. And everybody screws that up as Christians. And so when you see official declaration number 1 by Wilford Woodruff, verse 11, yeah, it's hilarious now, because he too. The Lord did not permit him to lead the church anymore, because the punishment for every single president of Brigham Young's church, and there are some other exceptions that I've found, Bruce Harmer Conkey, James E. Faust, Perry Packer Scott, Ballard, Hales. And if I were to go through all of them, I might find more. But this is for the presidents. And so, the punishment is to be the same that Joseph Smith had. Sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. So here we go, Brigham Young. Yep, 2 solar eclipses, 1 lunar eclipse. John Taylor, yep. Wilford Woodruff, 2 and 2. He got an extra whammy because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, incorporated in 1852 by Brigham Young, was dissolved by the United States of America. He's no longer the president. He was never the president. It was dissolved before John Taylor died. That's why John Taylor was in prison when he died. It's because the church is dissolved under John Taylor. John Taylor was stripped of being the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he died in prison. And so it's Wilford Woodruff who complied with the United States, at least verbally, thus deceived Mormons. So that's why verse 11 is just hilarious, because he now gets a double whammy for his lies. The church has ceased on the face of the earth, and there he is telling Mormons, we're never going to lead you astray. God's going to smite us down. Yep. And so none of these are presidents of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because it ceased to exist on the face of the earth. Brigham Young's church is gone. And so Lorenzo Snow, Joseph Fielding Smith Sr., and even first part of Heber J. Grant's lies, fraudulent claims to being the CEO, are false. But yeah, each and every one of them too. But under Heber J. Grant, he incorporated a corporation, which is designed to make money off of the former members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, incorporated in 1852 by Brigham Young. Mormons are now cash cows for this new corporation under Heber J. Grant. And it's for the sole purpose, as Joseph Fielding Smith told us, Sr., in his book Way to Perfection, is to raise up money so that they can coup the government of the United States and eventually the whole world, and then reign as the rulers of the whole world. And God does not like that. So then George Albert Smith, David O. McKay, and this is a fun one, because David O. McKay dies when there's the sign of signs in the heavens, the sign of his birth in the east, and we have come to worship him. So that's an exception, because he died 18th of January 1970. The lunar eclipse fits, but the total solar eclipse occurred on the 7th of March, which is technically out of range. But because the lunar eclipse fits and the solar eclipse is the sign of signs of prophecy in all of Scripture, not his ministry start, but his actual birth, 10 days before. It is an exception in this case, because the King of Kings is now about to be born. And it was indeed time for him to be born, but because he's the first birth, he was an extra 10 days longer in mommy's womb to be born on the prophesied date. And so it's very interesting that Hiram is to be the branch through which the Christ for Mormons would come from. And so the replacement of David O. McKay is Joseph Fielding Smith Jr. now. But he's not authorized. He's not the prophecy. He's not even a baby. And yet, wild. And so if you understand that Brigham Young changed it so that it's a rank system, that if you've been in the 12 apostles the longest, you become the president of the 12 apostles, and if you're still alive when the president of the church dies, you become the president of the church. And so it just so happened that when David O. McKay died, Joseph Fielding Smith Jr. was the president of the Quorum of the 12, and thus became the president of the church, which means God set that up. So that Mormons would know it's not him. But it's through Hiram. So then Harold B. Lee, Spencer W. Kimball, Ezra Taft Benson, Howard W. Hunter, and he was only 9 months. And still, Gordon B. Hinckley, and Thomas S. Monson. And that is a big one, because Monson is there at the first year of the latter days. And so, yes, scripture prophecy is included with this too. And he's got a double whammy. And so, yes, this is what I've been watching for with Nelson. The pattern's very clear. And here we are in the final year of the latter days. Monson is dead in the first year of the latter days. Technically the Jewish, because it was January 2nd, but he was on his deathbed. Scriptural prophecy was involved. And so here we are in the last year. We've got all of these prophecies getting fulfilled. And I've been covering them all for you. You know, Elijah versus the priests of Baal for 1 Kings 18 on both 9th Av, which is 9/11 of the Jews, and 9/11, 2024. On 9th Av, Utah was flooded. On 9/11, lightning struck Utah to cause the South Tule fire. The baptism of water and the baptism of fire. And then now, today is Friday the 13th. And then we've got the 15th coming up for Feast of Tabernacles, of which on 9/11 morning at 3 in the morning I have the dream as a seer informing me of the prophecy and revelation of the Exodus. But that you'll have to wait for that video for me to go into further discussion with it. But this is why I'm doing all these videos for you. Every single prophecy is about me. If not Joseph Smith, but maybe even a dualistic prophecy, because Joseph in Genesis, it's Joseph, but it's also me, because I too am a son of Joseph of Egypt. I'm both. And so yes, both Joseph and Hiram are prophets, seers, revelators. And it's weird, because Senior was a translator who taught Junior as the patriarch. But Hiram becomes the patriarch because he's the oldest son. He's older than Joseph. And Alvin's already dead. And Samuel, when was he born? We should be about finished. I'm hoping that this doesn't go too much longer, and hopefully definitely not longer than 2 hours. It looks like descendants. There it is. So Alvin, Hiram, Jr., Samuel. No, Samuel is after. Okay. So he's younger. But yeah, with Joseph and Hiram both dead, Samuel is next in line to be the patriarch, if not the president of the church through that process. And so that's why Brigham Young had him poisoned and murdered. And then with William is even younger and was already excommunicated by Brigham Young. So didn't worry about it. Okay, and so yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. We've got a double whammy for Nelson as well, a whole bunch of dualism, signs and prophecies going on for Nelson, as he's 99 and then all of a sudden turned 100, which ruined, it would have been perfect. 99 years and 11 months old. You ruined it. But again, on 9/11, that morning, Irene, not Nelson, not Oakes, not Holland, Irene. And so that has me very curious, because they have seniority over Irene. Because if Hinckley and Monson were in my dreams giving me authority, what's Irene doing when he doesn't have the authority as the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, even though it's only the keys of Peter, James, and John, which they don't have because of Wilford Woodruff botching it to deceive Mormons. So yeah, it's very interesting. And so yeah, all of this, and Mormons will not believe. They will not watch. No, if I don't hear the truth, see the truth, or speak the truth, then the church is true. I can be saved in ignorance. Let Mormons sin. Dear God. So yeah, I know what's coming. The fall of the great and abominable church must happen. It's all over Scripture. And the United States is supposed to be saved. But and so it's interesting, the Feast of Tabernacles is after conference, which is disheartening because it means that Nelson could keep going to the October conference. That the fall may not happen by then. Very frustrating. Ever since the first year, I've wanted it to end. I don't want to do this. Let this cup pass from me. I don't want it. Nevertheless, I did it, and then prophecy is fulfilled. And so, yeah, the 38-minute video that I did has to now be corrected to add the Feast of Tabernacles, because I ended it with the solar eclipse on October 2nd, as the lunar eclipse is in 15 more days, on the 28th, I think. Or is it the 8th? No, I think it's the 28th. Maybe not. It could be the 18th. It is. The lunar eclipse is on the 18th. 5 more days. Wow. Okay. But, yeah, I mean, all of these incredible stuff going on for the latter days, and because Monson back in 2015 said, nope, not the latter days, and then Irene would come out in 2021, was it, and say, not for another 3 more generations. Mormons believe them and trust whatever they say, even though they've confessed to lying to us, even though they've been covering up the lies. Mormons then say, oh, okay, great, then we'll just live our lives as normal and we'll vote for Trump and allow Project 2025 to take effect. Because the church is true. Jesus. Jesus is the author of Project 2025. And they will never read it, and then they're going to be shocked if Trump wins and starts implementing it. And going, wait a minute, what are you doing? It's Project 2025. What? Why didn't you tell us? Well, it was right there. You could have read it. Oh, well, yeah, but... It's just like the handbook that Nelson released. The news only covered the surface news that the church reported on their church news site. Not a single news agency went to the handbook changes. Only me. If you're LGBTQIAPO+, you're out. They're not just telling you you're wicked, you're out. And so the church, when they get their kingdom back, will implement that. When the church gets their kingdom back, child bride polygamy will commence again. When the church gets their kingdom back, the law of consecration, where you Mormon men will be slaves. You think they're gonna make you rich and prosperous? No! It's the kingdom. You are the slave to the kingdom. You get no wife. All the women will be given to leaders. The women will not get an education, will not go on a mission, will not get a career. They'll be in a harem, barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. And you think that the way things are now is the way things are going to continue. And you missed conference because you went on vacation every conference so that you didn't understand that the church is hinge pointing. That's what they said. We're hinge pointing. We're going in a whole new direction because they're setting it up to coup the government. They're setting it up to get their kingdom back. They're setting it up to get their religious freedom to dominate and control and take away agency. And you know whose plan of happiness that is. That's exclusive Mormon doctrine from Joseph Smith, warning you of this great and abominable church, and you won't believe the prophecies. And so I come out and I warn you, and you think I'm the enemy. And you attack me, and you hate me, and you want to persecute me and murder me. Ray Montgomery, I still remember the name, said I was going to be murdered on 8 April 2024. Oops. Not a prophet. I have proven myself multiple times over. I am a prophet. And maybe we have to go to that scripture so that you will understand. And if nobody's even listening anyway. One of my 12 apostles had a comment this morning with the video saying, I'm watching it on the 13th. Hilarious. My apostles are awesome. So, again, the duty of the president of the office of the high priesthood is to preside over the whole church and to be the Christ of the Jews, the man like Moses. That's the keys of the gathering, tabernacles, sukkot. In the coming days, behold, here is wisdom, yea, to be a seer, a revelator, a translator, and a prophet, having all the gifts of God which he bestows upon the head of the church. You say Nelson is the head of the church. He doesn't even have the keys of Moses. He claims Peter, James, and John. Nelson, not a translator, not a prophet, not a revelator, because their official statement is we will never predict the future and we will never predict days and hours of future predicted events. Therefore, they are not prophets and revelators by their own admission. Yet they still claim the title, and they can't translate worth beans. I do. I am. I can. And so what did you think? Who gave it to me? Gifts of God, which God bestows upon the head of the church. Hello? And Mormons don't believe. And what's coming if you don't believe? For those who will not listen to me, will not hear the warning voice. Bye-bye. Are you listening, Oaks? There's a pattern. And you were not in my dream either. Not Nelson, not you, not Holland. It was Irene. Which is weird, because he's near death too. Even more so than Oaks. Out of all four of them, Oaks, I would think, would last a lot longer. He seems to be doing fairly well, healthily wise. It's not up to me. The person that is being called God really hates this church and is making things happen, making all the prophecies happen. The church will fall. It's coming. Mormons must be compelled to believe, since they have chosen not to believe. The only way to compel a Mormon to believe is to take away the church from him again, with nobody left over to lie to them, saying the church is still around. It's still being run by a living prophet of Jesus, like Wilford Woodruff. That is the only way Mormons will stop this nonsense, because then their compass and direction is gone, and they won't know who to follow. They won't know where to turn to believe. Their faith bubbles have bursted at that point. And then John Dehlin will be thinking it's Christmas and that God loves him, and then he'll start getting a Messiah complex and start rounding you all up into his little web of psychology to blame Joseph, still not getting a clue that it's Brigham. And so there will be those of you who will say, I guess we need to go to independence. But who's going to lead us? Oh, I'm a stake president, I'll lead you. Oh, I'm a temple president, I'll lead you. I'm a mission president, I'll lead you. I'm a member of the lesser 70, I'll lead you. I'm a member of the 70, I'll lead you. I'm a bishop. You chose not to believe, and so you can't choose not to have the consequences of not believing. It's coming in the coming days.